Well, hey there, American Farmsteaders. This is Jenny with the Homestead Family Farm.
And Donna with Hazel Bell Farm.
And we are coming to y'all from Northeast Florida as two American farmsteaders doing our best to grow our own food and share our homesteading experiences with you in hopes that you will grow a little bit of food of your own.
Yes. And today we are talking about starting the new garden.
Yes.
Starting a new garden.
Yes, because... You know, as long as we've both been gardening, my garden is at a point in time in its little life that I really just feel like starting over.
My garden sucks. I shouldn't say that.
It's just covered in grass and it's covered in weeds, which happens this time of year, every single year. And this time of year, every single year, I feel like saying, you know what?
I'm just with you.
I'm just going to make a new garden.
It would be so much easier, I feel like. That's not true. It would not be easier to start a new garden, but we want to tell you it is easy enough to start a new garden.
It is. It is easy to start a garden. And two, it doesn't have to be this giant garden either. Like,
Right.
You don't have to have a ton of space. You don't have to have an acre of land to have a nice big garden that produces a lot of food.
Yeah.
So
we polled you guys. And you tell us that you want to hear about starting to garden.
Yeah.
And we thought back to our first gardens and what we did and what we would do differently. And if we had to start over now, how would we do it?
Yep. Well, first off, I am just a firm believer in tarping an area for a garden. You know, because it's something that you can do now to help yourself 4 weeks down the road when you're actually ready to install the actual garden. So, you know, and I guess it just really depends on, like, are you going to grow in ground or are you going to do raised beds? You know, because I feel like when you're starting a garden, it really comes down to your budget.
Yeah.
It comes down to your budget. You know, do you have the extra cash to install the raised beds? Because let's face it, that's going to take a little bit of money. You're going to spend money on materials. You're going to spend money on soil.
Filling it, yeah.
Filling it, that's a big expense. So, and that's fine. A lot of people do raised beds. I do a combination of both. I know, Donna, you're all...
We do both.
You do both. That's all right. You do have some rows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, about half my garden is in ground. And half of it is raised beds.
Yeah. Do you have a preference?
I see the pros and cons in both.
Yeah.
For sure.
I do too.
Like you said, like right now, the grass is really bad. The grass is really bad in both the in-ground and the raised bed. It just depends on which side of the garden and like where the grass is coming from and what kind of grass and all of that. So like I have one whole bed that looks like I'm growing grass.
Right. I do too.
Like, look at that beautiful grass.
Some of my rows back in my grocery row garden,
Quote
unquote. I'm growing much more grass than I am food in those areas. So,
I kind of have that going on too.
So I guess, so you need to figure out what your budget is. Are you going to do raised beds or are you going to do in-ground? Because in-ground, you're not going to spend a whole lot of money on startup, except for maybe testing and amending your existing soil.
And I do think this falls into that you're either going to put in time or labor or money into something, like more. Yeah. The more money you put in, maybe the less labor you'll get, but the more labor you can save a little change. Yeah. And so if you're willing to do the in-ground garden, it's a little more back work.
It is.
But it's definitely going to be cheaper. And it depends on like your location. You know, if you're in a flood prone area
right
during monsoon season,
right,
you know, in-ground might not be the way to go.
Yeah. Raised beds are going to give you a lot better drainage.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, that's not to say you have to do raised beds because you're in a low-lying area. You can certainly build up taller rows, wider rows.
Yeah. I mean, we can get some water around our place and that we just did. We built our rows up pretty big initially to start with, and they kind of settle down after a while. But two, I think you have to look at your property and what way is your water going to flow.
Right.
You know?
Oh, so yeah, you got to figure out what you want, what your budget is, and then location in your yard, right?
Yes.
Like you don't want to plant your garden under the shade trees, and you don't want to completely put it out in full sun either.
No, probably depending upon where you're at, maybe. I mean, my garden is kind of tucked in by a row of big oak trees, but we're in Florida.
Right.
Where full sun is 4 hours of sun.
Right. And so I have kind of like a little bit of both. I have some shady spots, and the shade changes as the sun moves throughout the day, but I have a lot that gets total sun all day long. Yeah. And those really suffer during this time of year. And I've always just kind of played it like it's not a big deal because we don't really garden much in July and August anyways, but shade cloth is coming.
Shade cloth is going to come for the fall and winter garden for sure. That made a big difference for me when I finally added shade cloth to the fall and winter garden because it's so hot here. You know, things like your brassicas and stuff like that, they're just going to bolt if they're out in full sun.
Right.
So that made a really big difference for us.
Have you heard of sun mapping?
No.
Okay. So there's this idea of, like in all things homesteading, they tell you, I don't know who they are, but they tell you when you move to a new homestead, you get to your new property where you want to eventually do all the things, to not do any of the things for the first year, because you need to know, how does the water run off of your property?
Yeah.
How does the sun shine here and there? And that changes with each season, right? So you can do this, like you can map out the way the sun lays across your land with each season. And that's a good thing to do, to know where you want to put your garden.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing, I think, to do when you've gotten to your property because, you're excited. You want to do all the things.
Yeah.
And so it's not something that I've ever been good at.
Right.
We're not very good at just sitting still.
Oh, no.
And waiting.
No.
Patience is not our strong suit.
So I guess when in doubt with gardening on choosing your location, put it in a nice sunny spot because you can always add structures for shade cloth if you decide you need more shade. Yeah,
or a fruit tree or, that will provide some shade one day, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. So let's start with you don't have much of a budget and you just want to do an in-ground garden.
Shoestring.
Shoestring gardening.
Okay.
Yeah, because really, you shouldn't have to spend a bunch of money if you want to grow some food. You should not have to spend a bunch of money.
Okay, so I don't even want to buy the tarp.
You don't even want to buy the tarp. Ouch.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the back of my local Dollar General store.
Yeah.
And I'm going to collect cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how much cardboard I've collected from Dollar General dumpsters. Not even dumpsters. They have it like waiting in the back.
Right.
Take me. I have filled up, oh my gosh, endless amounts of carloads of cardboard for gardening.
Okay.
Yeah. So go just get some free cardboard from somewhere. Find a friend who just moved. Whatever. Or go to your recycling center and collect some cardboard and lay that down on top of the grass. Now, I'm going to say don't use glossy cardboard or anything with tape. You want to remove any tape or staples, nothing shiny or waxy like produce cardboard. And do more than one layer.
Yeah, absolutely more than one layer. Layer it on there thick, weight it down really good. And the best time to cover anything like that is the growing season. So right now, while the grass is super vigorous in its growing season, is a great time to cover it to try to kill it.
Yeah.
Covering it in the dormant season isn't really going to do a whole lot.
Right.
So, I would say cover it for at least 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
If you have 4 to 6 weeks. And just cover it right over the grass. Don't worry about trying to pull the grass out first. Don't worry about tilling the area first. Just get it covered.
Right.
And just the simple fact that you've got this area in your yard somewhere covered with a bunch of cardboard, you're not just going to leave it.
Right.
You're going to finish the project.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to want all the ugly cardboard to sit in your yard. So
yeah, until it causes a marital fight. Then it's time to remove the cardboard.
Right. So yeah, you can do cardboard. You absolutely can do a tarp, any large piece of plastic, plywood, whatever you have that you can use to cover that area. Just go ahead and get it covered.
Yeah. So the idea is you're smothering out the weeds and the grass.
Yep.
Don't try to spray. Don't spray your grass to kill it back, because that's going to be a chemical residue that's left in with the food that you're growing. And it's either going to not allow your food to grow, or what you're growing is going to take it up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So after we've got the garden covered for a good 4 to 6 weeks, it is time to remove those tarps or the cardboard or whatever. Now, some people at this point might say, what about lasagna gardening? You know, what about the whole Back to Eden thing?
Right. I mean, I like it. I've done that. So lasagna gardening is, if you can picture a lasagna and all the different layers when you're building a lasagna, is kind of like that. You're going to start with cardboard on the ground like we have, and then you're going to add maybe some leaf mulch.
Yeah.
And then maybe some compost.
Yeah.
And then another layer of leaf mulch.
Yeah.
And so you're going to layer up materials, ending with your planting soil on the top.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I feel like that method, it's a good method. It's not really a method that I've ever really, faithfully done. I may have used some form of lasagna gardening somewhere along the road, but I feel like you need to source a bunch of materials for that.
Yeah. We've never done it all at once.
Right.
Well, I think maybe my first garden was kind of a little bit lasagna garden style.
Yeah.
But we're also continuously adding materials into our garden beds.
Yeah.
So, we kind of neither one of us really do any one type of gardening.
No.
It's a combination of stuff.
Right.
Eclectic gardening, you might call it.
Yeah. I'm bored with this. I'm going to do it this way now.
Yeah. No-till works, but also there's a place for tillage,
Yeah. Well, and that's how I started my big garden. It was cover the area with a tarp 4 to 6 weeks. And then I got in there and I did a really good initial till on everything. Of course, we got the dead grass out as much as you can anyways. Some people even till in that dead grass,
You can do that.
And I think you're never going to pull all the grass anyway. So,
right.
After I tarp, I till on my first initial area, because growing in ground, tilling it up like that on the first initial time is going to help you loosen the soil so you can add some amendments and so you can make your rows without it being ridiculous.
And loosened soil is so important. You don't want a compacted ground. Seeds are going to germinate and then die, because plants don't have a place for their roots to really explore and look for nutrients and water. So
yeah. So what if we don't have a tiller?
You're going to get your muscles out.
Right?
Yeah. So we're kind of thinking in mind, if you're this suburban backyard, want to start a garden, maybe you have a 4x8 space.
Yeah.
Get your shovels out.
And
have some family time.
Yep. Start loosening up that ground.
Yeah. So basically just dig and turn it over, and dig and turn it over, and dig and turn it over.
Yeah. So let's back up a little bit and talk about garden size.
Okay.
I think at minimum 4x8.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to keep it small so that you don't get overwhelmed as you're learning.
Yeah.
I feel like, so maybe, minimum 4x8. And then also kind of take into account what you want to grow. Because if you want to grow green beans, 4x8 is going to take up, green beans are going to take up all that space.
That's going to be all of your green beans.
Right.
I think that, some crops are going to be much better suited to row cropping versus doing a square foot garden type of a plot.
I agree.
So yeah, I think it's important to take inventory with your family on, hey, you guys, what do we want to grow? What are we actually going to eat? Because I can tell you, we've grown a lot of stuff that nobody has ate.
Nobody wants it.
And it was oh, well, that was fun, but
I grew it.
which is a nice when you have pigs, it's okay.
Chickens, yeah.
Because the animals will end up eating that stuff that you don't bring in the house.
Yeah.
But when you're growing on a small space, you don't really want to waste any of your space like that. So,
exactly.
Maybe walk around and take some inventory with the kids and with the husbands and,
Well, like, especially with kids, like what are they going to be excited to grow?
Yeah.
So it needs to be the things that your family will eat and the things that they're excited about.
Yeah. And so growing things right in the beginning that give you like a really fast turnover, they might not be like, your kids might not love them and they might not be the tastiest, but like radishes, they grow so fast. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of an instant gratification. Like, oh, wow, that literally only took like a little over 2 weeks.
Yeah, look, kids, you did it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that might just like spark enough interest in them to kind of keep the ball rolling on some crops that might take a little bit more time.
Yeah. So consider what you want to grow when you're considering your size.
Yes. Yes. And then how you want to grow it. Like if you know you're going to do green beans, you might want to do a couple of rows that are, say, 10 foot long. Or
consider vertical, just growing pole beans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll gain you some space, especially if you're in a neighborhood with a small backyard or you have an HOA that says no gardens allowed. Like I cannot
even believe that that's a thing.
I know. I know.
Taking away the right to grow food.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy to me.
It just makes zero sense.
But we do have
this
listeners.
Is the world we live in.
We do have listeners who find themselves in that boat. And it's, a lot of times, they didn't ever imagine growing a garden when they bought their house.
Right.
And this is the house in the area they wanted, the schools they wanted.
Exactly. And so when you buy that house, you're just not in that mindset of, oh.
Can I grow a garden one day? When you've never gardened before.
Right. It's just not something that people think about all the time.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah. Going vertical to really save a little bit of space.
Maximize your space. Yep.
And then, like I said, we're kind of eclectic gardeners. So I'm not going to say I'm a square foot gardener, but I kind of really,
you do kind of lean that way.
I do. When I first started getting serious about gardening, like I'm not going to say my first garden because I don't think I did it then, but after we had moved to, another move, we had moved, I did get a little bit serious and started checking out all kinds of different gardening methods. YouTube was just kind of starting to take off then.
Yeah.
And I had found a couple of quote unquote homesteaders who were sharing how they garden and followed along and was like, I started to hear terms that I hadn't heard before, like back to Eden gardening and lasagna gardening and square foot gardening, which sounded self-explanatory to me, but it turns out it actually wasn't. There's like a whole method that goes into the square foot gardening. And so I checked out some books at the library and kind of really started to research all the different things. And I tried a lot. And what I've landed on is a combination. And so the square foot gardening is cool because if you do that 4x8 bed, and I say 4x8 because that's how lumber comes. It's
right.
easy,
right. You're not
8
having
foot sticks of lumber. You just cut a couple in half and I've got an 8x4 raised bed.
Right. Yeah. It's easy.
Yeah. So, really make it whatever size you want. But if you're going to make a raised bed, keep it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
And so, the idea is you literally put screws or nails in the side of your raised beds every 12 inches. And then you use a string. You can use a jute twine that's compostable. Right. I think I used a polyester yarn because that's what I had, craft yarn or something that I used with the kids. And you run a grid with this string back and forth so that you can visualize every square foot.
Yeah.
And that worked really, really well for me in the early years of gardening because I didn't know how many tomatoes I could put in that 4x8 bed,
right,
and it thrive, or broccoli or whatever. And so there's a book out there, Mel's Square Foot Gardening Method, and he coaches you through all of that. There's a lot online. If you just Google it, you can find a lot of people following that. But it's intensive planting. And so with that comes intensive feeding and intensive watering.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely want to make sure you're feeding your soil with some really good compost.
Yeah.
And maybe even like an all-purpose fertilizer as you're dropping your plants in.
Yeah. He actually has like a mix, and it's like you need, this many parts of this mineral and this many parts of that. And so you go and you've got the list, and it's not the simplest, but it's spelled out for you. And so in that way, it was simple for me. And I did it, and I grew a lot of food.
Yeah.
But then, I've evolved in my gardening, and compost is where it's at.
And really, but that's what I was going to say. And I mean, when in doubt, if all of the things make you back off and go, whoa, that's way too complicated, just use compost.
Yeah.
Just amend your soil that you have with a good quality compost. And 9 times out of 10, you'll probably be pretty good.
I agree. Yeah, and you can go to the big box store and look at all their bagged soils. And honestly, some of my most successful small gardens, because that stuff is expensive.
It is.
I took birthday money to do this kind of thing. And I grabbed a mix. I want one of those. That one says raised beds. That one says great for your vegetables, time release, miracle grow in it, whatever.
Right.
And so I grabbed all these different kinds of bagged soil, mixed them all together, and that was my top layer in my garden.
Right.
And it did great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And a lot of the times, if you just spend the time to actually put it together and actually do it and actually put some plants in the ground, our creator designed this to where it's going to work.
Yeah.
You have to be a good steward of it, but it is going to work. So eventually you'll grow something.
Execution matters. Doing it, being the doer. Yeah, it does matter. But yeah, you're right. The seeds want to grow. Plants want to grow, as evidenced by the grass in my garden.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that hard. It doesn't have to be that hard. So yeah, I would definitely just find an easy way to dig and amend with compost. Compost is cheaper than any bagged soil anyways.
Yeah.
But if you want a guaranteed, this is going to grow me some food, then get a raised bed bagged soil.
Right.
And if that's, in your budget, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it all comes back down to budget. If you have no money to do this, tarp it, break up the earth with either a borrowed tiller. Maybe you have a friend that has a tiller. Maybe you have a little bit of money and it's a big enough area to justify going and renting a tiller from the big box store for half a day.
Right.
It doesn't cost that much.
Right.
And get that ground tilled up. If you can't do the tiller, do a shovel. Get that dirt loose. As soon as that dirt is loose and you've gotten the majority of the grass picked out of there, just stake out a couple of ends on your area, run a string, and you just go through with your shovel and just pile up the dirt along that string to make your rows.
Build a hill.
I remember the first time I ever, and this is true. The first time I ever did an in-ground garden was, we're out there, we're doing the work, and it was time to make the rows, and I was actually like, how do you make the rows? And Tori's it was a legit question.
Yeah.
I had never made a garden with rows in it. And it was okay, babe, well, just get a shovel and you move the dirt from the walkway onto the middle. And it was oh, okay. Let's make garden rows.
Right.
But it's, when it's not something that you've ever done before, it was a legit question.
It is. I'm sure you're not alone. I'm sure there are people out there right now thinking, okay, you're saying build the rows. What do you mean?
Right. What do you mean? Yeah. You
just pile the dirt up.
You just pile the dirt up.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be fancy and do a string and make it nice and straight.
Mine are never straight. Never straight. Never.
So at that point, once you have your rows made, you can top them with compost. If you do it that way, you end up having to buy in less compost because you're only composting where your actual row is and you're not composting the whole entire area in the ground.
Right.
So that's a little bit of way to save money. And once you do that, you're ready to plant.
Yeah. Understand if you do that so that you're using less compost, you're probably going to have to add more later.
Yeah.
Or feed, fertilizer or something.
Yeah.
You're going to have to feed your plants later if you're using less now.
Well, and, that was kind of a lesson that I learned along my gardening journey. It's like, oh, you have to continually feed the soil.
Right. Those plants are growing and using the nutrients.
Right. They're continually using the nutrients. So, getting on a good schedule of, regular feeding of your soil and feeding of your plants is a good thing.
Yeah, it definitely matters.
Yeah.
So
raised beds. What if we want to do raised beds? Okay. So we're going to talk like maybe a 4x8 raised bed.
Hey, there are some really cheap, like you can go to Amazon or you can go to the website. I think they're called Vigo beds.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. They're almost like, corrugated looking.
Yeah,
they're
like
really
galvalume,
nice.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are planting in those and they're super affordable.
Yeah, and they look really nice and put together. Yeah, I was kind of a little jealous when I saw them. I was like, oh, those are nice. I don't
need that, but if I were starting a new garden, I probably would buy those. Yeah. And in fact, I thought about purchasing them for our back porch. So those prefab garden beds are might be worth looking into if, you're not so handy, you're not looking to build anything. Another option is we have just used like 2x10s and 2x6s stacked one on top of the other.
Yeah.
I've seen people use cinder blocks.
Yes. And I feel like a mistake people make often when building their own raised beds is they make them way too deep. Because you're going to have to fill that whole entire bed with something to make up for that space. And I really feel like they get a little too deep really quickly.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Okay. Like say for some
back issues.
Right. For some people, that might have like a medical issue. Yeah. You're going to want your bed up higher so you're not having to bend down. But, if you're generally a healthy person and you can do a little bending, then don't make your garden bed so deep, because essentially you're setting that garden bed on the bare earth. You might be some cardboard under there to keep the weeds and stuff down, but your plants can still tap into the dirt that's underneath the bed.
Right.
So your bed doesn't need to be 3 feet tall.
Right.
I mean, unless you want to spend all that money trying to fill your bed.
Right.
And I know a lot of people will do, when I built my raised beds, and mine are 24 inches tall. Okay.
Wow.
And they did not get filled all the way.
Right.
And I mean, I did sticks on the bottom, to kind of take up the space. And I would say the actual like growing depth of my beds now is probably about 18 inches.
Okay.
That might even be, it's actually probably a little bit less than 18 inches.
Okay.
So you don't need a super deep bed. How deep are yours?
I wish you didn't ask me because I used to know and now I don't. They're about 12 inches.
Yeah, I don't feel like they're deep.
Yeah, I think they're 12 inches. I think the actual soil is probably like 8 inches.
Yeah.
But they sit on the ground. Any deep roots can go deeper. I don't think anything probably reaches that far except things that run. Yeah, tomatoes do for sure. Things that run like mint. I have mint that's grown out of my bed into the walkways, which, if you're planting mint or lemongrass for that matter, a lot of herbs.
Right.
Don't put them in the same bed. Put them in a pot somewhere.
Yeah.
So, you can, I like what you said about adding sticks to the bottom. That's something you can definitely do. If you want a deeper bed, you can, there's something called hugelkultur that you can look up.
Yep.
And, you can kind of implement that same idea in with raised beds. There's pros and cons to everything, like I said. And the con to that is you're going to get some termites. Permaculture will tell you that, termites are just part of the process.
Yeah.
Stop trying to eliminate it. What can you add in that takes care of that? And it will even itself out. I like that, but I'm not always so interested in that, especially if I'm looking to grow food first growing season.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that stuff does even out in time. So
in time. And that's where like the whole back to Eden method, like I get the idea behind the method, but I mean, I have a friend who did a back to Eden style and did not grow anything their first year because nothing was broken down. There were so many wood chips.
Right.
That it just ties up all the nitrogen. So things like that are great over time, but I think they really need time to settle and break down.
I agree. Yeah, so that brings up another point that a new gardener is not going to know.
Yeah.
Is planting directly in wood chips.
Yeah.
So if you go and like watch Paul Gauchi's, what is it, like 2 hours and 45 minutes or something?
Yeah.
That original Back to Eden video, he's growing some amazing things. Well, a couple of things that you need to consider. He piles mulch like, I don't know, 12 inches deep or something like that, but it sits for a while before he plants in it. And then when he does plant in it, he pulls the top layer back so that what has sat on the bottom and composted underneath is now soil. And so keep that in mind if you do that. And then the other thing is his location. So I understand like his location has kind of like a hydro seepage slope under the top layer. So like he's got a nice constant watering area.
Nice.
That's not going to work for everybody.
Right.
You know, Back to Eden, it might work and it might not work where you are because, you know, you have a different area. I'm thinking like desert. Like a lot of people do use that in the desert because that deep mulch holds water in.
I mean, after mulch breaks down, it's essentially just like a sponge.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
But it takes a minute to get there.
It does. Maybe that's what it is. It just takes some time to get there. It's not going to be your first growing season. And, you know, that can feel really defeating if you have your first growing season and you get no food.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's bad.
It's bad. You're going to get food. You're going to get something. I mean, you want to plant in soil. What's the point? Don't plant right in the mulch.
Right. So, I mean, I say it's just best to just keep it simple. Like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. You know, just get a decent soil, some good compost, and put your plants in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, my very first garden, that was not 4x8 because that makes sense. It was 8x8. Because at the time I thought, I don't want to cut. Let's make it 8x8.
Right.
So we filled it with dirt that was in a cow pen.
Okay.
My blessed husband, he was such an angel. We were younger and more able-bodied then too. He filled up 2 loads in his little pickup truck of just with a shovel by hand.
Yeah.
2 loads of dirt out of a friend's cow pen. And the guys there, they were like, you don't want to try to garden in that. You're going to have nothing but weeds. And I was like, no. I watched the Back to Eden video. I'm not going to have weeds. And so, actually, I don't think I had come across the video yet, but I had learned that, you know, oh no, you just need to mulch the top.
Right.
And so they filled it. So, okay, it was a lot of composted manure was what it was.
Yeah.
With a mix of sand.
Right.
It was really a perfect median, you know, to grow in. Planted my plants. I don't think I started anything from seed then. Everything was purchased plants, which you can do. It's easy.
Again, that comes down to your budget. You know, how much money do you want to spend starting up your garden? You know, because the price of actual potted plants right now at the store, they're like $5 or $6 for a 4-inch pot.
I'm not doing it.
You know, you can buy
more. They're $7 and $8
it's
for
crazy.
A popular brand. Yeah.
No, not doing that. I mean, you can get 2 or 3 packs of seeds for the cost of 1 plant.
Yeah.
I mean,
do that. Starting seeds is not hard, you guys.
No, seed starting is not hard. Yes, it can be a little bit tricky. Yes, it's something that you have to pay attention to. It's not something that you can just set it and forget it. You know, and it took me a few tries.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And some years are still better than others.
Yeah. And some years I pay more attention than others. Yeah. So that first garden I planted my plants in, and then I covered the topsoil in newspaper. This was newspaper days.
Okay.
I think I collected newspapers for couponing maybe.
Okay.
I don't remember if I was doing that then or not, but anyways, everybody had newspapers. I covered the top layer with 2 or 3 layers of that, wet it, And then I got like 1 or 2 bags of cheap mulch from the garden center and put that on top of the newspaper. And that kept most of the weeds down.
Yeah.
Until that newspaper really broke down and I didn't have a thick enough mulch. But, it was my first time.
Right.
I learned soda apple and fireweed grow in that cow pen. The fireweed was really bad. I didn't know what fireweed was then. And I
figured it out real quick.
I went to pull it out and sure enough, I was on fire. Yeah. It was horrible. So, and that was when, I had babies.
Right.
So then I was terrified for them to go near my little garden.
Right.
I don't want anything to hurt my babies. And I ended up pulling out all that fireweed with a pair of pliers.
Oh my gosh.
And gloves, like one at a time. And I put it all in a bucket and we burned it. But I don't think we ever really got rid of it with that bed. It was a lesson. It was a lesson learned. So the newspaper worked really well. I didn't put it on thick enough. So if you wanted to do that, do it thick. You could use cardboard.
Right.
And wet it down. And, as long as you're planted in that soil, again, like don't plant in the mulch, don't plant in the cardboard, plant in the soil, and then surround it with
that material that you're using to cover the soil, which is super important to have the soil covered. It's going to keep the soil a lot cooler, help it retain water, help keep weed seeds from blowing in on it, help keep weed seeds from germinating.
Right.
But yeah, you want to make sure you're planting in the actual soil.
Yeah. So in ground or raised bed, any other method? I mean, you could do some container gardening. I started to say, like those Vigo containers are kind of more like a raised bed, not a container.
Right.
And I think I could grow in that. Whereas a pot, I'm not so much for. They dry out faster. They heat up faster. I just seem to kill stuff in pots.
Yeah. I agree.
Not my thing. Some people do great at it.
Yeah.
But not my thing.
No.
If you do, I'd say go for the biggest pots you can find or even use 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah, 5-gallon buckets work really great, or those grow bags you can buy on Amazon, unfortunately. Yeah. But I'm sure you could find them from, an online gardening store, maybe Haas or something like that. I don't know if they sell those, but those garden bags, I don't feel like they would dry out as quick as like a plastic pot.
Right.
Because those plastic pots just have the big holes in the bottom where the water's literally just running through it.
Right.
I feel like the grow bags kind of like maybe soak up some of the water.
I don't know. I've never grown in them. You know what I have grown in before that is kind of like a grow bag, and this was my thought, is that it's like one of those grow bags are a reusable grocery bag.
Right.
A fabric grocery bag that's kind of plasticky. It's not like just cotton.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know. But I have grown in that. I grew potatoes in that once and they did okay. So you can do that. It wasn't great. It was like an experiment. Let's see if we can do it kind of thing. And I think that was before I really knew how to grow potatoes.
Right. So that could have been it.
That could have been it.
It could have been it. Let's just be honest.
Yep. The other thing I was thinking are those green stalks for vertical growing.
Yeah.
That a lot of people are using.
Those are super popular right now.
I don't have experience with them, but a lot of stores are carrying like a knockoff of those. And because I don't know that they sell those in any stores anywhere. I think they're just on their website. But a stackable vertical gardening system might be the thing that you want to do to grow some herbs and some shallow rooted things that get your green thumb going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess the point is if you want to grow food, just figure out a way to do it. No matter where you're at, in your little backyard. I think that most people have enough room for something 4x8 size.
Sure.
And start small. Start with just that one section so you're not completely overwhelming yourself and letting it get away from you. And so if you start one for fall and winter that's say 4x8 and it does well and next spring rolls around and that worked out well, you can just duplicate that same thing.
Yeah.
Or you could try something different and say, hey, I think I'm going to do a couple of rows in ground.
Right.
And so start small.
I agree. You can always double it later.
Yep. Can always make it bigger.
Well, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think it is it because, like I said, it's designed to work. So, we just need to be good stewards with it and it'll grow.
Feed it, water it.
That's right.
Cultivate, harvest. That's it.
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, we will be back next week. Until then, we are asking that you look out at our Instagram.
Yes.
We are going to be posting a Q&A reel or post or something like that.
We're going to do a seed giveaway.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to do a seed giveaway on Instagram because we really want to encourage y'all to grow some food.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is go to our Instagram page and be on the lookout for the seed giveaway post.
Right.
In order to enter the seed giveaway post, you just have to like it and share our post.
Yes.
And then if you're not already following our page, follow our page.
Definitely.
Because we really try to put out good little tidbits of information here and there as we think of them.
As we think of them. Yeah. Random helpful thoughts.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that because who doesn't love free seeds?
Everybody loves free seeds.
Yeah. And these seeds are going to be seeds from Donna and I's garden that it's crops that have done well for us. And that we let go to seed. And so it'll just be like a variety of stuff.
Yeah.
Flowers,
a lot
veggies.
Of things you can plant now and get started for the upcoming season.
Yep, absolutely. So be on the lookout for that. And that's all I got.
Okay. Well, until next time. Thanks, guys.
Bye, y'all. Bye.